Oilers, you got a great offense with Connor McDavid. So I have them sweeping them.
Yeah, well, I don't think you heard my point. The San Francisco Giants have 3 more in the 2010s than the Rangers have in their entire history. So, yeah.
It's hard to get back and to get back-to-back wins, and I don't see the Lightning doing it here, so I have them losing to the Hurricanes in 6.
We don't talk about the 2010s because the 2010s had the Astros, and if the Astros didn't happen, the Yankees would have won in 2017 with the Dodgers.
He was close to Frank Reich, and they want Frank Reich back, so that's what they got. It's their discount Frank Reich.
Kaprizov and the rest of this crew, Jordan Greenway, who doesn't get enough props. He definitely is somebody who needs to be mentioned more.
Hi, this is Julie Dobbs. You're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NHL Opinions of the Week. I'm Kevin, and I am joined by the Pavelski Dreamer, Austin.
Oh, we're finally bringing this up, are we?
Yes, sir.
Do you want to tell the story?
Or we can just tease it for later.
That's true. That's true. We can leave it until our season prediction video.
Absolutely. So there was a dream about Pavelski from Austin. That's all we got. Till next time on NHL Opinions of the Week. And that's not our episode. It's just a little tease. We're doing top 10 NHL GMs as listed in the title. This is a fun list. I'm very intrigued on. I doubt we're going to agree. So let's just get right into it, Austin.
Yeah, we didn't agree very much on the NBA one, at least by where they were listed. And that's because GMs are not as concrete as coaches. They don't impact the game as much as coaches do, but they can put a roster together and kind of help your team, how it's formed. But they don't win games. They don't lose games. So it's really up to interpretation. I'll go first. My number 10 is the GM for the Buffalo Sabres, Kevin Adams.
That's a good one. Mine is Chris McFarland from the Avalanche. He's only been in, from what I read, it seems like he took over in 2022.
Yeah.
So that's why he's low.
Yeah, he took over after the championship.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's why he's pretty low on this list, and I can understand not having him on this list. But Kevin Adams is also a good one.
Yeah, I just really like what the Sabres have started to build. I'm excited for their future, and I think any team or any fan of the team should be excited. He came in 2020, and they've really gotten better since he's come in.
Yeah. So I'll go into number 9, Steve Zerman for the Red Wings. I like the Red Wings roster, even though it hasn't really come to fruition. I like the moves that they've made, and I do think they're going to kind of explode onto the scene.
Yeah, Steve Yzerman's how you say that.
Yzerman? Okay,
yeah.
Thanks.
I do have Yzerman on this list. I don't have him just yet. My next guy is the GM for the Los Angeles Kings, Rob Blake. The Kings have really helped build a playoff roster, and he's put good guys together, made good trades. He's a little low because he traded Jonathan Quick away. I hated that move. I guess that's just personal preference, but not anything substantial. But he's really helped rebuild this team. He took over in 2017, so I believe they made the playoffs in 2017, and then yeah, they did. I know for a fact they made the playoffs in 2017 because they lost to Vegas. They got swept by Vegas in the first round. But so he was on that after that last team that made the playoffs, and he's helped get them back to not necessarily glory, but back to the playoffs, back to a very competitive team, and they're definitely much better.
Yeah, he's actually my number 8 for many of the reasons you said. I put him over the Red Wings just because I do think you kind of have to see some results from the rosters just to show, okay, what I thought in theory actually worked. But I don't count it as too much with playoffs because then you're one of the better. You're facing a lot of good teams. But if you're competing for the playoffs and getting close like the Kings did compared to the Red Wings the past few years, that's why they're on this list. That's why he's higher.
Yeah. Uh, my number 8 is Bill Zito, the Florida Panthers GM. I don't have him higher because again, you can't just say, "Oh, they made it to the Cup. He should be higher." No, I didn't like the Huberto trade when it happened. It obviously worked out for them. Kachuk was amazing this past year, but their defense is very lackluster, and obviously it was kind of more they got hot at the end than this team was dominant in the regular season and definitely was a Stanley Cup contender heading into the playoffs. But I do think he's good at roster construction.
Yeah, I'm a little bit higher, but I'll explain it once we get there. I'll let you say seven first.
So at 7, I have Ron Francis. He is the GM for the Seattle Kraken. I really, really like how he's built this roster out. All the young players he's brought onto the team, and obviously in their second year they made the playoffs. They won a round against the Avalanche and then lost in 7 to the Stars. But I like how he builds his team, and I think that they have a lot of potential going forward.
Yeah, it's a good one. My seven is Kyle Dubas for the Penguins slash Leafs. He's more on here because of what he did with the Leafs, because he hasn't really done anything with the Penguins. He's lower because he did get fired. I think he was the scapegoat for that, but to me, I can't really have him higher with the Penguins. But I love the roster he's done. They're a fantastic roster. And I don't really blame the playoffs for him. It's just for me, it's he got fired, so I do think that should be impacted here.
Yeah.
For
What he's done with the Penguins, he's made signings. He's also traded for Eric Carlson.
yes, that's a good one. I do think he'll work out for the Penguins and he'll move up because I don't feel the Penguins are as cursed as the Leafs in the playoffs.
Definitely not.
Yeah. So I'll go into my six, Bill Zito for the Florida Panthers. And it's not all because they made the Stanley Cup final. I think it's Kachuk for me, even though he took a heavy risk and it paid off. But I also like the other parts of the team because even before that, they were doing better. And there are some things we'll have to see. Or what were you saying?
I didn't say
Or
anything.
nothing. Oh, okay. All right. I don't know what happened there then. So it's just I like the roster, and I do think he took a big swing at Kachuk, and it worked out. And we saw that in the Stanley Cup final, but we'll have to see more of it because I think he identified a need that Kachuk could solve.
Yeah, I understand that. I just think that it was a little bit more fluky of a run than some people give it credit to, especially when you say that they were outscored by Boston in the Bruins series and ended up winning. Most teams that get outscored in the series lose. Uh, but I'll go on to my next guy. My number 6 is Steve Eiserman. You mentioned I think at 8, so both of our 8s were the other person's 6 and vice versa. Eiserman's a good GM, and I really do, like you said, enjoy this Detroit roster. And I think they'll be much better this year because he's really built a talented group.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing. As I was thinking about it with 8 through 6, all these guys I think could move up or be different. It's just my personal preference because, or number 9 through 6, since I had Steve Eiserman at 9, but I had Rob Blake ahead of him. But it's just these tiny little things that are changing the rankings for me because Dubas and Zito are very close.
Yeah, I I, I could see that. I'll go into my number 6. My number 6 is Chris Drury, the New York Rangers GM. He's gotten a lot of great teams together. They just haven't worked out in the playoffs, and he's had a lot of made some great draft picks, made some great trades, and they just haven't worked out. But I do think he's very good at getting talented rosters together.
That's a good one. Um, I'll go into my 5, which is Kelly McCrimmon for the Golden Knights. I know they just won and maybe they should be higher, but he, to me, he's done a lot of moves and they're big moves. And if they all work out like they did last year, they win the Stanley Cup. However, I don't think it's best in the long term. And I think as a GM, you have to balance short term and long term. Like I'm not like you're gonna go in on stuff, but to me, it's just such for the Golden Knights. It's such a win now mode, and I think there's just gonna be a moment where it all crumbles.
Yeah, I don't have him on my list mainly because of what you just said. This team is extremely volatile. Like I could see them missing the playoffs next year if everything goes wrong, which for a lot of really good teams, I couldn't see that at their worst outcome. But what's your next GM?
Or do you have a five? Because
I
or
already said mine.
was
It was
five?
Chris Jury.
Okay, okay. I heard six, so I wasn't sure. But yeah, he's not on my list. Just I don't like what he did this past year with those moves, but I'll go into my four, and that's Ron Francis from the Kraken. I know he's only been here at the beginning, but I really love this roster. I love what he's done, and I do think it's going to work out for them. And to me, it's a very more complete team, base team. They just need another type A player, but that could be Beniers. So compared to the Golden Knights, to me, it's less risky, and that's why he's in the top five. I really like what he's done to start, even though it's compared to the Golden Knights, they were in the playoffs the first year. But I really love this Kraken team.
Yeah, the Kraken roster will definitely be a talented group moving forward, and that's always what the league wants after making a expansion team. My number four is Kyle Dubas. I think you had him at 7, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I recognize the team that he has created, and this also includes the Eric Carlson trade because I do believe that was a masterful job by him. They're buying into now, and I could definitely see this being a story. Well, Dubas leaves, and his first year left wins a cup. Now, I don't think the Penguins are necessarily uh, the favorite at the moment, but with Crosby, with Malkin, you can never doubt him, and getting Carlson, one of the most talented defenseman. He's not really an offensive defenseman, but as a defenseman, I do think that they could be a very elite group. Now we'll have to see how they all merge together. I still remember 2017 when Ottawa was knocked out in Game 7 of the conference finals with Eric Carlson against the Penguins. But now Carlson is in Pittsburgh, and I think it'll work out, but we'll see.
yeah, that's a good choice as well. And I totally understand having Dubas higher. It's really a lot of just small things in this list. But these are the top 10 is the premier guys, which I think that's the good thing here. But yeah, I'll let you go into three.
So my number 3 is Jim Nill, obviously for the Dallas Stars. He's done a great job getting a very talented roster together. He's made some amazing draft picks that I do think go that people don't really tie to him, even though that he is such a. I think he's done an amazing job since 2013 when he was brought in, getting guys together. The only reason why he's a little bit lower, I'm sure you have him top 2, is because he's been here this long and there's been dry spells during that time, and I don't necessarily think he's made the best moves every single time. I'd say that with the Suter signing, but I do think overwhelmingly he makes the right choice.
Yeah, I agree. I do have him in the top two. But yeah, my three here is Julia Brisbois for the Lightning GM. Lately, I think he's just gotten stuck with the salary cap and he's doing the best he can. But overall, that roster is incredible. He's, I don't know how he's going to do this next season with the salary cap constraints, but he's an incredible GM.
Yeah, I agree. Who's your 2?
My 2 is Don Sweeney, which gives away my number 1. This one was a tough decision. I was going between Sweeney and Neil, but I Sweeney I think has a tough year ahead of him as well, just because of with all the losses. But it is an incredible team and incredible. Yeah, they were one of the best teams, and I just put Neil over because of some of the late round picks. However, the thing against Neil is he does make some mistakes, and I don't think he's very concerned about the future, which I think can harm the Stars. But some of the he's done better with contracts lately. I think of Jason Robertson. I think of Rupe Hintz. I don't really give him credit for Pavelski. Maybe that's rude of me, but I think it's more Pavelski giving him the discount
Yeah, I agree.
compared. Yeah, but with Rupe, I think he saw a future value, and he's like, I'm gonna give this to you now before you reach your full potential or become well known, like he did in the playoffs. Because he was entering the free agency market before the playoffs. If he had done that for free, or he was going to go into free agency, I think he probably would have made something around Sagan and Ben's money, even more. But he's lower than that. So I think he's getting better at contracts, but he still does have some bad contracts and very concerned about the future. But kind of this top three to me is the elite of the elite.
Yeah, we had the same top three, which is going to give away my number one here in a second. My number two is also Don Sweeney. The thing is, Sweeney doesn't make those big mistakes that I see Nil make. That's really the difference. There wasn't a contract last year like Suitors in Dallas where I was like, man, if we just got rid of him, our team would be so much better. And I give him a lot of credit, Sweeney, a lot of credit for picking up Linus Olmark. No one thought Olmark was going to be this Vezina winning goaltender, and he was amazing this past year. He sees people, and this is with everyone in the top three, that are going to be much better than what they are right now. He sees the future, and that's my number one. I said we had the same top threes. That Julien Brisebois is my number one. The way he can just get guys off small contracts to be very talented and then having to pay them a lot of money or they have to leave is just remarkable. He has been in Tampa since 2018, and he was there for both of he was there for both of their championships, and everything he's done, even if they do start to fall off this next year, just because of it wouldn't be because of him. It'd because they'd be so tired after so many years of going to the playoffs, and players are getting older and yada yada yada, and they don't really have money to bring in new guys to really truly contend. And I do still think they're a great team and they could win another cup. But the way the team is built, he does a masterful job at getting the best out of players, seeing how they will be in the future, and then making decisions accordingly.
Yeah, and the thing for Nil that I kind of just recalled is that if I'm not as well versed with the Bruins and the Tampa Bay system or minor leagues, but Nil really has a knack for hitting on later picks. And there are just some guys he's picked up, and the minors are doing so well. Um, I know Christian Kyrie's going to come up soon. That's more in defenseman, but you have Logan Stamkoven and Maverick Bork, which I don't know. Have you read that there was actually a rule change due to the Jim Nill trade that involved Maverick Bork?
What was the rule change? I didn't see that.
So Zuccarello, it just happened. The Zuccarello trade, Neil put conditions on if they extended him after the season, they would give up a first to the Rangers. But of course, Zuccarello didn't stay with the Stars, and so that changed to, I believe, a third or second round pick to the Rangers. And that first round pick turned into Maverick Bork, who is a premier goal scorer and could come up to the Stars this season.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That is a very intelligent move.
Yeah. So they changed to where you couldn't put conditions on first round picks in trades anymore. But yeah, the top three, I agree, and I totally understand having them. If you have different ones, totally understand. And yeah, that's all I got. Any final thoughts, Austin?
No, I like both of our lists.
All right, and that's all we got. And thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.